On May 25, 2026, Memorial Day, President Trump announced that a deal with Iran was largely negotiated. A 14-point memorandum of understanding, a 60-day ceasefire extension, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, sanctions relief, Iranian oil flowing again, and then the line that stopped every analyst reading it. Trump floating Iran as a potential Abraham Accords member, with 8 regional powers – Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, all signing simultaneously. That announcement was still moving through every newsroom on Earth when Iran's Southeastern Air Defense Command issued its own statement. They had intercepted and destroyed an Israeli orbiter reconnaissance drone over Hormuzgan Province, the exact province that sits on the Strait of Hormuz, the exact waterway the deal was promising to reopen. The timing wasn't coincidental, and the gap between those two announcements, one offering Iran the most consequential seat at any table in 4 decades, the other claiming a drone had been shot down above the territory being negotiated, is the only story that matters right now. The Strait of Hormuz carries roughly 20% of the world's energy supply. For 88 days before this announcement, a US naval blockade had redirected or disabled more than 62 commercial vessels while the ceasefire held barely. Trump's 14-point MOU wasn't just a pause, it was the framework for unwinding one of the most economically costly standoffs of the century. The Abraham Accords piece is a different category of ambition. Previous accords normalized Arab-Israeli relations, bringing Iran in. A Shia theocracy built on explicit opposition to the US-Israeli order would be a structural realignment that nobody predicted was possible. Secretary of State Rubio, speaking from New Delhi the same day, stated the non-negotiables plainly. No nuclear weapons for Iran, no uranium stockpile on Iranian soil. Iran's foreign minister confirmed Tehran had reached conclusions on a large portion of the issues. Careful language that said yes to momentum and nothing about uranium. The uranium question is the 60-day window, but before that window even opens, Iran shot down a drone. Or said it did. Iran's military claimed the system that engaged the Israeli orbiter was capable of detecting radar-evading UAVs. They declined to name the system. The Israeli Defense Forces said they were not familiar with the incident. Not quite a denial, not a confirmation. Here's the thing. The orbiter is a small, electrically powered surveillance drone. It doesn't require exotic technology to defeat. But drones also go dark without enemy action. Lost link failures are a documented reality in combat operations. An uncontrolled drone has in some cases been destroyed by friendly aircraft to prevent a whole capture. Iran has a consistent institutional incentive to claim every downed UAV as a deliberate intercept regardless of actual circumstances. What is not ambiguous is the choice to announce it publicly on Memorial Day, while Trump's offer was still reverberating. That choice came from the IRGC, and the IRGC has a specific problem with this deal. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is not a military in the conventional sense. It is a parallel state, its own navy, air force, ground forces, intelligence services, and its own economic empire. Construction, shipping, energy, import monopolies. The IRGC controls a significant portion of Iran's formal and informal economy, and that position was built on Iran's isolation. Every year of sanctions that shut Western companies out of Iranian markets created space the IRGC filled. Every period of conflict that constrained civilian government authority transferred power toward the security apparatus. The IRGC didn't accumulate its position despite Iran's isolation. It accumulated it because of isolation. A deal that normalizes trade, reopens oil exports, and integrates Iran into the regional economic architecture doesn't just end a conflict for the IRGC. It dismantles the conditions that made the IRGC what it is. The organization controlling the missile batteries, the drone fleets, and the SAM networks that would have to stand down for this deal to hold is the same organization with the most to lose if the deal works. Iran's foreign ministry can reach conclusions on a large portion of the issues. The IRGC doesn't answer to the foreign ministry. But if the deal fails, CENTCOM has been preparing for that too. The Lucas drone, built by Arizona-based SpectreWorks for $35,000 per unit, is the clearest signal. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper described its origin directly. American forces captured an Iranian Shahed drone, pulled out the technology, sent it to US engineers, and brought it back as an American weapon deployed against the country that designed the original. First confirmed combat use, February 28, 2026, during Operation Epic Fury. Cooper called it indispensable. As of May 24th, Shield AI's HiveMind autonomy software is being integrated into the Lucas. That converts individually guided one-way attack munitions into a coordinated swarm, sharing targeting data, adapting to air defense responses, overrunning point defenses through volume. Paired with undersea drone systems designed to detect mines from the seabed and stealth ISR variants like the RQ-170 and RQ-180 reported in the region, the US has built a military architecture specifically suited to reopening the strait by force if the diplomatic track collapses. The deal failing has consequences. Iran knows what those consequences look like. So here's where 60 days actually leads. Rubio's position is fixed. No nuclear weapons, no uranium stockpile in Iran. Iran's supreme leadership has publicly maintained throughout the standoff that uranium stays in Iran. Those two positions have not converged. If they don't converge inside the window, the MOU expires, and what follows is a choice neither side has made public. But the Abraham Accords framing changes the incentive structure in one important way. Every previous nuclear negotiation was built around constraint. What Iran surrenders. This one is built around inclusion. What Iran gains. Regional legitimacy, economic integration, the end of a sanctions architecture that has compressed the Iranian economy for decades. That's a different proposition than anything Tehran has been offered before. Whether Iran can accept it depends on a question the next 60 days will answer. Which foreign policy is actually Iran's, the foreign ministries or the IRGC's? On Memorial Day 2026, while the most ambitious diplomatic offer in modern Middle East history was still in motion, Iran's Air Defense Command shot down a drone, or said it did, above the exact province they just promised to open. The regime has always spoken out of both sides of its mouth. The question isn't whether the IRGC will try to undermine the deal. The question is whether the deal's architecture can absorb that pressure, or whether it requires the IRGC's genuine cooperation to survive. Iran has never become a normal country because the IRGC needs it not to be. Every 60-day window is also 60 days in which that calculus could change. The answer is coming, whether anyone is ready for it or not. If you want to understand what happens when Iran's IRGC and its civilian government have pulled in opposite directions before, the full history of how this split has played out across 4 decades, that's the next video, worth watching before the window closes.